Hey everyone, welcome to the weekend vid. So we've had the futures open, and with the volatility, we're going to see it is gapping. Now, when we look at the futures, anyone that was short before, right, all the way down into here, about 100 points, they open underwater. So they got to do something, right? At this point, we're above all those guys. So if it stays above, 630, maybe we do see some recovery. However, you are such an inside day. You are such an inside week. This is going to be difficult, right? Unless we open up here at the highs tomorrow morning, SPY, it's going to be difficult to get that moving. Because if we go to the SPY, it's pretty much going to open right in the middle here. 3 and then 1. So we might have to wait for the next 2. But that being said, SPY is closer to 3 down on the month. It's probably going to open right at the month open. So, if things are going to be firm, what do we look for? Well, we're not going to have a lot of bullish setups. What we will look for is if the market gaps up Monday morning, who's taking last week's highs? Because that's what matters. The whole market pukes, and then your stock's taking last week's highs. If you're short the market, you're going to have to close that short. So what do I mean by that? We always talk about confirming and negating. But the idea is this, right? If the whole market's going down, closes out at the lows, everyone's short. Looks like this. If it opens here and you're short from the previous week, if this was a weekly chart, you got to get out. So we don't want to buy the SPY if it's inside week next week. We want to go buy things taking last week's highs. So what we're going to do in the morning, if we have this gap up, is we're just going to scan 2 up week. Be like, who's 2 up? Now, if we go to anything inside week, right? 150 names. Here's your highest volatility ones that you can take a look at here, most liquid. These may be more likely to open as a 2 up since they didn't go down last week. We can also scan and just say, who was a 2 up last week and close, strong. These guys would be closer to opening as 2 ups because they're up. You can see 20% last week, 26%, 20%, 20%. So all these guys may open 2 up as well. If you go on a daily basis, these would be the closest to more like opening and taking last week's highs. And you can see it's a lot of VIX stuff and smaller names. But that being said, that's how we want to scan. So I'm not going to have all the answers for you tonight on who am I going to be buying this week, Alex? But I do have one. So if we go to MKTX, we saw with the news that there was a spike in bonds, bond-related stocks, and MKTX is a bond trading platform. So going into next week above this, it's like 177.67. We're interested in that. As far as the downside is concerned, we have a few setups. So if we go to XLV, was an inside week. So, right, if they're going to buy anything, it could be these guys, which means the bearish setups in XLV could turn bullish with the 2 going 3. So we're aware of that. If we go to LOI, slight shooter, right? But if it ticks down and goes green, still full time frame continuity. So we can watch for it to reject as well. We got a Humana shooter. And so if they are weak, 322, but if they're not, maybe slight lower low and then a 3 to the upside. If you go to VRTX shooter, same thing. Could be a 3 to the upside if they firm up. ELV could be a 3 as well if they firm up. In the healthcares, we'll also see BIIB. If things are weaker, maybe inside down PMG. Could take out a lot of these guys, and that would be a preferred bearish one in the healthcares. As far as tech and everything, you got a lot of bearish setups, not many bullish ones. You got tech, big outside week to the downside. So we'll have to see Monday morning, but PanW, shooter week right now. This is one of the stronger ones. So if it ticks down and goes green, we could go long on this. ARM, shooter week, reclaim. So more of a bearish setup. Got Twilio, shooter week. And you can see there's a lot of shooter weeks. COHR, a little bit of a 2 up and red week in here. So we'll see come Monday morning. We'll also see more bearish names. Dash, potential 2 week down. Uber, maybe a 3-2 to the downside. Elf, these are all discretionary, maybe a 2-2 to the downside. And in financials, if we go to Affirm, potentially the 2 week to trigger, inside month down to trigger, shooter quarter down. And we see financials as a monthly 3-2 in here. So, depends how those open tomorrow. And then as far as other setups go, we'll see inside bars, quantum computers, QUBT, inside week. So Could go rev strat, you know, if the meme stocks are still going, but inside week down, I would be very interested in a short for below last week's lows. Could have a 27% move through this stuff. QUBT with QBTS shooter week, maybe RGTI, depending on how they open. For now, they're still going up, so they got to reverse. You can see even RGTI might have a daily pivot machine gun in here to take them out. That being said, I don't want to bore you by going through all the names because there's just a lot of bearish ones, but here is going to be your list. See? So it's not letting me drag for some reason. Something is wrong with this. All right, well, I will post the list in the description below, so sorry about that. But that is all I've got for you guys. The only other thing I can really say is, you know, gold and silver, they're still firm, so those are likely to open as 2s up going into next week. And, you know, outside of that, it's like corporate bonds and stuff. You know, that's things that aren't very fun. I can take a quick peek. I really didn't look at many of these bond ETFs, but we'll just take a quick peek. LQD, nah. BCLT, They did pop a little bit on the China stuff, but nothing to write home about yet. Maybe that changes with some 2 weeks next week because there is a lot of potential 2 down, 2 up reversals there. But that's all I got. So have a good one, guys. I'll see you guys hopefully Monday morning. I can get on and stream just so we can start tracking this volatility as it's, you know, expanded and see where the volatility is going now. But no promises. If we're doing a stream Monday morning, then I will make sure to have it on the YouTubes. Just make sure you turn on that notification bell and you should get notified. Adios, everyone. Have a good rest of your night.